Hey everyone, and welcome to the Tom's Hardware Podcast for today, December 13th, 2022. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Avram Pilch, and Les is out today, and Ash is out today, but I have a very special guest. We've got a really special guest right here, Lorraine Underwood, who has been on the show before. She's a huge name in the Raspberry Pi community, and she's got a really incredible project to talk about today. So, Lorraine, first of all, for folks who aren't familiar with your work, can you tell them a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I think I've got like many makers. I've got many hats. So I'm a PhD student at Lancaster University. So I'm actually like researching physical computing, like microbit and Raspberry Pi. But kind of in my spare time, I like to make things, and I make a lot of projects for the Element 14 community, their YouTube channels, and a lot of them are microbit and Raspberry Pi related. I can't remember when I was last here. Was it the face mask? I think it was the face mask. So I made a mask that transcribed your speech into scrolling text, and I think that was the last video I did with you guys.
I think so, yeah. And also we had the one where you motion controlled the camera.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, we were all. I think it was the very beginning of the pandemic. We were all suddenly in all these meetings, and I had cameras. And when you looked at someone, your head would move as if you were looking at them in a conference room. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, that is really neat. So you've got a lot of awesome projects that you're working on. Can you tell folks about your latest project, which is, I think, the physically biggest project we've ever talked about? Tell everyone what that is about.
Yeah, so this is with my work at Lancaster University. So we collaborated with Lightworks, and they build and maintain a huge thing called Blackpool Illuminations. And we also collaborated with an artist called Jack Irving, who's originally from Blackpool, to create Odyssey. And it is 6 towers that are up to 11 meters high, and the widest is 7 meters wide as well. So it's quite difficult to imagine the scale of this thing. And in the east side, this sits on Blackpool Prom in the northwest of England, and it creates an interactive path. So each tower projects onto the ground, and there are cameras as well in each tower, and fog machines, and lasers, and speakers. So it's a whole experience, and it detects people on the path and creates these creatures, these underwater, deep sea, luminescent creatures that follow you as you walk along the path. Some follow you; they have different behaviors. Some follow you, some run away from you. Some only appear if they see a person, and it's like a 10-minute show that's interactive, a 5-minute fight scene, which brings on all the lasers, and then it loops again. So that's every night, and it's happening right now in Blackpool until the 2nd of January.
Wow, that is awesome. I'm going to share my screen so we can actually take a look at some of these. Take a look at what this looks like. So bear with me 1 second, so we can actually go through the awesome pictures that you sent. But how did you get involved with doing this project? And is this the first time that you've done it?
Yeah, so in the past, Lancaster University has worked with Lightworks on a smaller interactive project. So this was 3 years ago we started doing this project. They put out a bid for people to work with them, and I was a member of staff at the time. I love the illuminations. You know, it was one of my first foreign holidays was going to Blackpool, so I love that area. And just the opportunity to do something, I like bullied my boss into submitting a bid. It's quite similar, like what we bid and what we actually built are very, very similar. So we wanted to make it interactive. You know, these light shows, you go along, and particularly Blackpool, because it's 10 kilometers, people tend to drive through the lights. You know, they sit in their car and they drive through very slowly and they watch the lights. When Blackpool want people to get out of their car and interact with the businesses and each other and, you know, experience it. So we thought, well, you need to make it an experience. You know, you need to make it interactive for them then. So that was our bid, let's make an interactive light display. And then Jack also bid, and they put us together to collaborate. So he's the designer. These are he calls them goddesses, and all the creatures are his ideas. Yeah, that's it there.
I'm trying to blow this up here, although because I'm on a laptop with one screen, you see everything that I see. So tell everyone what we're looking at right here.
Yeah, so these are the 6 goddesses, the 6 towers. So inside, like the head of each one, kind of the neck area, is I think 20,000 lumen projector, and it's shining down, so you can just see the path in between them. And then below the projector is a camera, so that's getting the poses of the people, the crowd below it, and it's creating that scene below it.
And this was for the construction, right?
So it's really cool that the illuminations factory, all the illuminations are built in Blackpool. Like, a lot of people think they buy them in, but they don't. They actually make them all from scratch. And they used to hand carve polystyrene blocks and then put the fiberglass on top of the polystyrene to make the mold to build the structure. But when we joined, they've just bought this like magnificent drill bit, like a CNC drill bit that just carves polystyrene into these molds that they need. And then they can reuse the molds, and it just saves weeks of development time. And this guy here in the yellow, his name is Mitch. He's one of the Lightworks guys. He's brilliant. He's 6'6", which is 2 meters. So he's like our measuring stick. So that drill is over 3 meters high, and it's in a room on its own because it just creates so much polystyrene fluff while it carves these huge blocks of polystyrene into molds. And it's just really interesting how this company, who've been doing like these lights for 100 years, is really like modern.
Cool. And then this picture here is kind of an overview as well.
Yeah. So you can't quite see the lasers. Yeah, that photo that doesn't have the lasers. There's 15 lasers in each structure as well. And everything's connected. So during the fight scene, the lasers start to go off like crazy. There's a smoke machine that also goes off during the fight scene, because we don't want the path covered until it's not interactive, if that makes sense. So yeah, everything there is connected to each other. So there's I can't remember the numbers, like 2,000 to 3,000 LEDs in each structure. And some of the LEDs are inside the structure because fiberglass you can see through it, and some of them are hanging outside the structure. So there's LED ropes and LED strips, and just LED, like not single LEDs, but circular LEDs going around it as well. And each of these goddesses has a name, but I couldn't tell you their names besides 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about how what technology you use to make this happen. Are you using what type of controller boards are you using to make this happen?
So inside the towers, there's the projectors that are everything kind of networked together, and then there's one singular projector machine. I'm kind of starting at the end here, and that's controlled by Unity. So we had an undergraduate, Sam Nugent, who programmed the fish to react to different coordinates. And then at the other end, we have the cameras, and they're Raspberry Pi cameras, and they're just taking constant photos, constant video, and sending that to another machine, which then processes that through machine learning and detects people's poses. Because we want to go further with this. Right now, we're just figuring out where people are in the path so that we know what fish can avoid them. But later on, we want to create more interactions. So the machine learning returns the whole skeleton of the person that it can see. So it returns where your left eye is, where your left wrist is. So we can do some really cool games stuff with those kind of coordinates. So yeah, the Pi takes the video, sends it to the machine does the machine learning, gets the coordinates, sends it to the projector, and the projector then tells the fish to avoid this person or attack this person. So it's kind of all interrelated and connected, and definitely a team effort. Like, I couldn't have done any of this without the cool looking Unity stuff on Sam's end, and the project wouldn't look as good without these massive goddesses structures that Jack designed. And nothing would have happened without Lightworks actually building everything and assembling it. It took them weeks to assemble like an 11-meter structure. This is right by the sea, so we get like crazy wind coming in as well, and seawater and salt water destroying all the electronics. It's a real challenge.
So Mayor Makes asks, are the molds preserved for future projects, or are they just used to make multiples of one shape for a specific project?
So the molds do deteriorate when you put fiberglass on them. The weight of it, it's polystyrene, it melts as you put hot fiberglass on it. But in this project, we managed to get 2 structures out of each mold. So there's 6 structures, but they're actually 3 unique structures, if that makes sense. So they're doubles. So we managed to use a mold for 2 structures. So unfortunately, the molds don't last very long, just because polystyrene is fragile.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing how much effort went into this. I mean, where did you secure funding for it?
So, Lancaster University, we're kind of like, as part of our mission is to do like local, national, and global good, to like engage with local communities and not kind of be cheesy, like inspire them, but like Blackpool also to bring in. This is their off season. They're a seaside town, and the Illuminations brings £250 million a year to Blackpool Prom. So we wanted to support Blackpool. So ourselves, the university, didn't charge, if that makes sense. I work there. I just worked on this project. I wasn't paid extra or anything like that. But the illuminations are funded by the council and also by charitable donations from the public.
Wow.
I don't know what the budget was. Six 20,000 lumen projectors is over £10,000 easy. Just for the projectors.
Well, that's a lot of effort. How long did it take you to design?
Yeah, it's really difficult to put a number on that because we started 3 years ago. We bid for it 3 years ago, and then like COVID shut us down for so long. And then, we thought we'd be a year later, but then kind of COVID resurfaced and we were shut down again. So it's kind of like a month of coding and then like 11 months of not coding. So can't really give you a number on like the number of hours that I spent testing it. Like I started testing it here in my basement using a camera and my projector here that points my home cinema here. And then like the complexities of my bit was the cameras are 3 meters high. So they're looking down at people, which is not normally where like machine learning wants to look at people, that kind of, and also in the dark. So we're looking at infrared cameras. So I started putting a camera in my 2nd floor bedroom, pointing down at my garden. So yeah, there were kind of hours and hours of that, but it's really hard to put a number on how long it took it. It just felt like forever because it kept getting delayed because of COVID and then manufacturing delays, global shortages of steel and things like that, things that are just completely out of your control. And Lightworks never done anything this big before as well. So I think they had a few things they weren't used to doing, like assembling an 11-meter structure.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So, wow, that is just really, really impressive. What type of coding did you have to do for your part of it?
So I was just Python, which my boss is not very happy about because he teaches C and a lot of OpenCV. Like it is a lot of OpenCV. It's in C, it's originally written in C. So he's like, you're slowing it down. Why are you slowing it down by writing in Python? And it's like, because I'd be slow if I wrote in C. A lot of
the
my
person
code
has to be faster.
Yeah, exactly. I'd spend longer trying to relearn C. And you're not doing it, so be quiet. I just did it in Python. So the Raspberry Pi code, taking the video, and like we chose Raspberry Pi because it could compress. Everything had to be real time, because you wanted the fish to react to the people quickly. So we couldn't just use any old camera because we needed to compress the image to send it over the network. And the calibration image didn't need to be compressed. So we needed absolute control over the cameras. And then bringing it to the main machine, which we call Beast. It's all Python, my stuff. But then I had to send that over network to the Unity guy who's writing completely in C. And it really was like we were talking totally different languages because we try and talk about coordinate systems. And I spent a lot of time looking at coordinate systems because I'm working in the camera coordinate system and the projector coordinate system. So I'm trying to get those two systems to talk. And he's not, he was just dealing with the graphics. So we spent a long time arguing over where 00 was in a grid. And it's just like, you're speaking a different language. I'm like, it's there. And he's like, no, it's there. So I sent him the image flipped and he still managed to flip the image the wrong way. So it was just really funny. Never mind that he was doing it in C and I was doing it in Python. We just couldn't get 00 in the right place.
Yeah, no doubt. So Katie Dumont asks, how many years do you expect them to be used for? Is there a life expectancy plan for the whole setup?
Yeah, I don't know. That's really Lightworks. They do have illuminations stored at Lightworks that are 20, 30 years old. Like fiberglass is really solid. It's just the electronics that needs replacing every now and again, which they did like over the last 5 years. They've replaced all their bulbs with LEDs to be more energy efficient. And like I said, the sand and the sea, it tends to melt the wires. So they do have to strip out all the electronics and replace it. But the actual structure itself is really, seems to really be really solid. Like I've seen stuff in their archives in their factory by the airport that's really old kind of stuff that's still there, still standing.
Wow, that sounds really cool.
It's a great place to go if you ever I think you can get like private tours of the Illuminations factory.
Wow, that is great.
They have TARDISes. Actually, the TARDISes are out on the prom. They're like I think they're like 7 feet tall.
Wow, that is really amazing. So what are some other projects that you're working on right now? What's next for you?
I suppose I should really focus on my PhD. Really, it's really, but yeah, looking at Intranet of Things rather than Internet of Things for schools, and getting schools on board to teach kids with microbit. We just have a lot of projects that we like collaborating with people at Microsoft. There's one like Blackpool's next project. We have an agreement in principle with them to create an indoor drone light show. That probably won't be me, but I'd love to be involved. I just love doing lots of things. I have these glass bricks at the moment. Have you seen like a glass brick? They're very retro, like swimming pools would have a wall of glass bricks.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Like they're just like square bricks. And my friend was pulling them out of her house, so I got 70 of them. And I'm now thinking of like creating a wall, but with LEDs lined through them and lighting them up and creating like Tetris or something. So
what a great idea. I always think of those as like Miami decor because you always see them in Florida or on Miami Vice or whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely a style that just people remember from those glass bricks, but they're great diffusers of LEDs. So I really want to create like an interactive grid.
How do you get inside? Do you have to like drill a hole in the glass?
I don't know if I'll go inside because they are hollow.
Right.
But I might just, because the whole thing is glass, just put something underneath it. I'm still kind of testing that. I'm still kind of working out how I'm going to hold the whole structure, how it's not going to fall on top of people. What's the best way to light it? But I've got the bricks, so
there's
always something going on.
That sounds like a great idea, doing that type of a public display. I have been pondering whether I have time to do a kind of public display here at my office where we don't have any holiday decorations of any kind. And what I was gonna do, if I have time, I don't know if have you ever worked with like Hub 75 LED matrices?
No, not that. Is that a brand, Hot 75?
No. Hub 7, just like the style, like 64 by 32 matrix, LED matrices. So I was thinking that what I would do is try and find a way to like put two you can daisy chain them, daisy chain a couple together, and then build some kind of a web interface so people could put holiday greetings on it and
Oh
like
yeah.
have it scroll by. But then people start to say to me, "But don't you need to moderate it? What if somebody in your
Yeah,
office
yeah.
puts something bad on there?"
We have the same. Our building in Lancaster, the computer science building, has a massive grid of lights in the same way, and you can submit a Git push to it to submit some code. So someone checks it before it goes live, so there's not a giant rude object on the building of the computer science.
Yeah, exactly.
I had Santa, and if you shine a torch at Santa's eyes, a random joke would appear. So I had like a list of 300 bad Christmas jokes. So just a random one would scroll, which is quite nice because 300, you're not going to get the same one.
Yeah. So holidays are coming up. Are you doing, beside what you're doing for the public, are you giving any pie gifts or maker gifts out, or asking people to send them to you?
Everyone's free to send me any gifts they want, of course.
Yeah.
My youngest learned to solder this year at EMF camp. He had a brilliant, I think it was, I can't remember the name of the guy who taught him to solder, and he just loved it. He really enjoyed it. He created a remote that turns off televisions. So he just he thinks it's the best thing ever. And he's 8. So I bought him a couple of soldering kits for his stocking. So Santa's going to bring them. And my oldest wants to learn Python. So I've not really figured out where to start there, which is odd because I'm an educator and this is exactly what I do. But I just don't, when it's your own children, you think, oh, we need to do this right. So it's not just a flash in the pan.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I'll just teach him Python rather than going straight in with the electronics. Let him do some fun kind of stuff first. And he's 10. So
Yeah.
some geeky gifts for my child. I got him a soldering kit. He's not as interested in soldering, but it's a penguin that vibrates. So he likes
my son is afraid of soldering. He doesn't want to, he's 10. If I start to solder, he's like, I got to get out of the room. Toxic fumes.
Oh, really? Does he think?
Yeah.
Yeah. None of my sons have ever mentioned the fumes. They've never really mentioned it. And I think my older one is scared of the heat. The young one's fearless. I think it's second child syndrome, isn't it? He's fearless.
Yeah. Maybe when my daughter, who's 3, gets a little older, she won't care because she wants to touch everything.
Yeah.
But I got to keep her away. Don't touch it. It's hot. But yeah, I think my 2 cents with getting a kid onto Python or whatever is find a project that they want to do and have them do it rather than try to teach them the basics.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I did the Raspberry Pi, the space code stuff.
Yes.
Where you send a message into. I loved that, and I think that's still running. We might look at that because that's in Python. It's short. It's quite short, but it's still like something he'd like to do. So yeah, it's hard to when you want to teach something. You kind of want to teach lists, but there's no reason to teach lists. You're right. You need something they're interested in, something that.
What my son really was interested in Python was PyGamer.
Yeah.
Was trying to code games in PyGamer, and there's lots of great samples for that. What I'm still trying to figure out, if you have any ideas, I'd love to know, is how we could use a library like PyGamer but without a screen, because PyGamer seems to assume that you want to do it on a screen.
Yeah.
And I would like to sort of use the game functionality of it, but use it with an LED matrix, so we could program a game where everything was on, was shown in LED lights and not no screen at all. So that's
the MakeCode team have Arcade. That's quite a cool game. It's not LEDs or lights or anything, but it gives you sprites and backgrounds.
We've done some MakeCode stuff. So that was.
I know what you mean. Pygame without the screen.
Yeah, would be cool. I got to figure out. We haven't had time to do it. But we've been wanting for years, because at one point we used Pygame to make an LED platformer with like a unicorn hat where you could sort of be like Mario and you could jump over stuff or whatever.
Yeah,
You're like
yeah.
two red lights Mario.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and we had a guest on the show at one point who had actually created a whole game system with a 64 by 64 matrix, but I don't think he used Pygame or any known library.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
with my cube, I made everyone just makes it from scratch, don't they? No one creates a library. I made it's like a 3D snake with my cube of lights. So I created Snake, but in 3D. So you had like in ping pong balls. But like everyone does it. Everyone creates games in lights, but I don't know anyone who's done a library for it. Because I'm thinking of doing a game, Tetris, in lights, and I've seen someone else do Tetris in lights, but they've probably just coded it themselves, which is the fun of it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to figure it out. I wish I had it here with me at the office where we're doing this from, but my latest thing that I'm trying out, which is not exactly a Pi project, but is a maker project, is we just got an M5 C Stick Plus. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It is like an IoT computer, but it's on a watch. So it's like you put it, it's like $30 US, and it's this little orange screen, and it has an ESP32 board in it, and you can get hats for it, like a joystick hat or a sensor hat or whatever, and then you can program it in Arduino language. I think you could program it in Python, and they have a block-based UI, and you can do all kinds of stuff on it, and then wear it around.
That sounds cool. The whole system.
Wear it around town as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So, so we have to find time to play with that. But
you should do an episode of like, or like maybe like a shorter clip of what's under your desk, or like what's in your
yeah.
Yeah.
Les usually has better on his desk than me, but this time we will show folks the watch, I think, next week, and if I can get something for this done for this holiday party at my job, I will. One thing that I am definitely going to show and folks could get is I got a Raspberry Pi Christmas tree hat.
Yes.
And I'm going to go set that up at the front of our office today. That it's a really small, I forget where I got it. It was a really small tree with like 30 lights on it, and it plugs right into the GPIO.
Yeah, sells them. Yeah.
And you can program it in different colors. So really cool. Well, thank you so much, Lorraine, for joining us again. It's always such an honor to have you on our show. Thank you so much to everybody who watches and listens. We will be back, hopefully, with a more full crew of hosts next week, the 20th. And just thank you so much. We really look forward to talking to you again in the future and seeing all the other cool stuff that you're going to make. And we'll see everybody next week.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.